Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
So it's about sharing stories. It's about sharing perspectives. And I say at the beginning, it's okay to disagree, but do it respectfully. No matter what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like, and we can talk through it at the time. But let's just know that all of us have shown up with the intention of talking about this hard topic, and it could be triggering for some.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Discover and unlock your potential in Suzanne Roberts' book and documentary, It's Deeper Than That, Pathway to a Vibrant, Purposeful, and Liberated Life. You are guided to reconnect with the self-renewing energy at your core, where clarity returns, purpose ignites, and your life expands beyond what you thought was possible. Learn more at unifingsolutions.com. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes. Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to learn more about you and your story. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
So, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, which is a media platform, but really a podcast as well. And I'm also the founder and host of the Blended podcast and the founder of the Blended Pledge. And yeah, I don't know how much you want me to go into it, but there's a lot there.
There is a lot there. Well, I would love to hear, I like backstories a lot. That's what I live for, is having people share that it wasn't overnight and that there were bumps in the road, because it helps our fellow entrepreneurs out there really, resonate and relate with the struggle that we all go through in some capacity. So I'd love to hear how all of these things came to be. Like, what was the pivotal moment? And we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I've been in logistics and supply chain for 25 years. My parents owned a logistics company. And so right out of high school, I did not go to college or university. I went into the family business, started off as reception, and worked my way up. And then I was director of sales and marketing. This was in about 2016, and we needed to tell our brand story. And I thought, well, if Lewis Howes can have a podcast, why can't Sarah Barnes-Humphrey?
Right.
And I asked a guy from my customs department to be my co-host, and marketing and supply chain back then was so stuffy. So tongue in cheek, we called it Two Babes Talk Supply Chain. And we got 1,000 downloads overnight one night. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of onto something. And then in 2017, around my 37th birthday, my dad closed his doors and I was out on my butt with no team and no co-host and nowhere to go. I had no paycheck. I had nothing. But I had companies paying to come on the show. So I had to keep going, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn graphic design, social media, website design, you name it, had to learn it. The only thing I didn't do was edit. I hired somebody to edit it because I was like, that is not my jam. Like, that is where I draw the line. And so I kept it going. And January 2018, I started the Woman in Supply Chain series as a part of the podcast. But by April 2018, no women would come on a show called Two Babes Talk Supply Chain, and the organizations they worked for wouldn't let them come on either.
Wow.
So I had to pivot, and within a week, I renamed it Let's Talk Supply Chain, and the rest is kind of history. I hired my first freelancer in June 2019. I now have a team of 14 people, and they're all mostly women-owned businesses, which I'm super excited about because it extends into community. But throughout those years, we've built out the media platform. We've built out a second podcast, which is Blended, and then a nonprofit, which is the Blended Pledge.
Wow, that is amazing. And thank you for sharing vulnerably the pieces of figuring it out, because that's what this whole thing is all about, right? Sometimes the name is not right, sometimes whatever it may be, and then you change it, you pivot, and then you find what actually works. Tell us more about Blended. What is that about?
Yeah, so the Blended podcast is where I bring 5 different people from different walks of life to talk about inclusion in the workplace. And my advocacy started with the Woman in Supply Chain series, but I have a very blended family. And in January 2020, I was like, it's a lot more than just gender, and I want to do more in this space. And so October 2020, we launched the podcast. And then October 21 I was like, I don't think I'm doing enough. Just kidding. But I was like, I want to turn it into a nonprofit. And so we decided to focus on giving away grants to cover travel expenses so that diverse voices can say yes to speaking engagements. Because the number one barrier in all industries for us to really have inclusive conversations on stage and see representation on stage is travel expenses. And I watched my best friend struggle with that for years. And so that was the inspiration. So it started off as a podcast, turned into a nonprofit,
Wow.
and we've got about 20 volunteers now.
Wow, that is incredible. Congratulations on
Thank
having
you.
that idea. I love that you said, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Because you're always doing so much, right? But especially when you feel passionate about something, there's always
Mhm.
a way of fitting it in. And especially when you are passionate, that's when I believe we make the biggest impact because there's a big why behind that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Well, you have something exciting that happened recently as of the recording of this podcast. You released your book. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I was really kind of stuck, I think it was last year, around my personal brand.
Mm.
So Let's Talk Supply Chain's taken off. I'm the face of that, and so everybody sees me in supply chain.
Mm.
And I've had a long career in logistics,
Mhm.
but I wasn't, and I didn't really want to be known as a supply chain expert.
Okay.
So it was kind of like, what do I do with my personal brand? What does that look like? And I went to this conference, and I think it was September 2024, and they were talking about branding, and they were like, your personal brand should be one word.
Mm.
And I was like, one word? Like, who is going to be able to do this with one word? And I thought about it incessantly for a week. And I was like, what is my one word? What can this one word be? What is it that I do? What am I good at? What do people tell me? And blended played a really big part in that because a lot of people at the end of the recording, it's not necessarily for the audience. It is for the audience, but honestly, for the guests that participate in the show, they get a lot out of it, and I get a lot out of it. And a lot of times they say, thank you, I feel seen and heard.
Mhm.
And so then it was like, okay, well, I, create safe space for conversation. That's what I do. That's my superpower. Okay, what does that mean? And so that's how I came up with self-worth. And it was right as I got on a red-eye flight to come home from California. And I told my team, and they were like, absolutely not.
Mm.
And I was like, what do you mean, absolutely not? And then I started explaining to them why self-worth
Mm.
is the one word I wanted to focus on. And as I explained it, they got on board with it and they went, oh, yeah, okay, I can see it. And I've wanted to write a book for a very long time. And so I decided in that moment, if I was going to kickstart my personal brand this way, what better way than doing a book? And I decided that I wanted the book to be about my relationship with self-worth based on my life experiences, because I had been through quite a bit. And so, I just like everybody, there's ebbs and flows. You go through different things, you listen to your gut, or maybe you don't, you get resilient. And so I wanted to explore what that looked like for me, to really lay the foundation for talking about self-worth.
That is so good. I love that. Well, congratulations on exploring the desire of building your personal brand because I work with a lot of women that want to get into speaking, but they are the face of the business. And I love your realization of I don't want to necessarily be considered an expert on supply chain, which you
Right.
could have, and that would have been great because it's already going and it's great. But if not, then what is there to explore? And congratulations on your bravery also to publish a book, because that's the other thing that people are terrified of. If I put it out there, people are going to see it. Oh no.
Yes.
Oh
And
my
I've had like a few people that I've mentioned in the book as far as stories. Their sister by the book.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I really hope that I told the story in a respectful manner. Like, it wasn't like I was trying to tear anybody down. I was just sharing my stories from my
Yeah.
perspective. And I made that very clear at the beginning of the book. So I was very
Mhm.
intentional
Mhm.
about sharing my side of the story
Yeah.
and being respectful that the rest of the story wasn't mine to tell
Mhm.
in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
Um, but the title, and I don't know if everybody caught this, but the title is I Buried Her in a French Press, a memoir about finding my voice and the power of being heard. And so I've been getting a lot of questions about the title of the book,
Mhm.
and there's a story, I promise. There's a story in here about how I buried my step grandmother in a French press, and it's an ode to her because she was like my best friend. So,
Aw. Oh, I
yeah.
love that. Well, and thank you for saying that there are things that you talked about that involve other people, and I think that's one of the concerns that a lot of people have when they're thinking about
Mhm.
publishing a book. And I've heard this several times. Oh, I have to wait until such and such passes away or whatever. And it's like, well, it's a piece of it is yours to share. So share your piece of it and or make a disclaimer like what you said, there's the other side of the story, or I'm going to share this piece and just go for it. But I love the name. It definitely creates curiosity.
Yeah, I know.
What does that even mean? So I love that. That is very, very smart. So are you doing more speaking? Like where are you taking the personal brand now that the book is out?
Yeah, so a lot of the stories that that we talk about on social media, I have a LinkedIn newsletter as well.
Nice.
We are tying all of that. So even the podcast that we do for Let's Talk Supply Chain, we tie into self-worth in one way or another. And Let's Talk Supply Chain is not going anywhere. And
Okay.
I'm still going to be doing that. But I wanted to have a little bit of both. And I think sometimes we feel like we can't. And I'm kind of here to say that we can.
Yes, absolutely.
And the blended podcast really is aligned with what we're doing for the personal brand as well. And so that's kind of moved into the personal brand and away from Let's Talk Supply Chain.
Mhm.
So there's just some reorganization that's happening. But yeah, I'm doing some speaking engagements for women's groups. And I decided a while ago that I am not a keynote speaker. Do not hire me to do keynote speaking because it's not my jam. Okay. I'm a conversationalist. I like to have and spark conversation. I like to host conversations. And that's what you want to pay me to do, or that's what you want me to do to
Mhm.
optimize, a collaboration with me.
Yeah.
And so I'm going and speaking to a lot of women's groups, but I do keynotes very differently. So I don't call them necessarily keynotes.
Mhm.
And so it's a way for us to be able to share stories. So I share my story. I talk to the person that brings me on and we talk about their story, and they share things that a lot of their peers wouldn't know about them.
Mhm.
And then from there, I engage the audience. So we put the audience into different groups and we ask them questions and they talk about it. And then we talk about it as a group. And it's really, really engaging. And so I'm going to be doing quite a bit of that, I think, over the next year or so.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And it's a great way to involve people too. So it's not just a one-sided conversation, right? I
Yeah.
love that. Tell us again the name of the book for those that are just listening, and where can they find them? Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburg.com/podcast guest for more information.
I Buried Her in a French Press, a memoir about finding my voice and the power of being heard. And you can find it on Amazon.
Love it. So good. Well, I loved that in the title, as part of the title, you talked about finding your self-worth, and then your realization that this is what you help people with by facilitating these conversations. Can you tell us more why it's hard for us, or why somebody would struggle with being seen, being heard, and what can they do if they find themselves in that space, to make themselves heard and seen
Yeah.
and find that self-worth?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. There's a lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of societal pressure for us to have everything right, and for us to be confident all the time and have our self-worth in checked and figured out.
Mhm.
But this book really shines a light on the fact that it's going to ebb and flow. I mean, one day you're going to feel at 40%, and one day you're going to feel at 100%, and not to give your power away into that pressure
Mhm.
to be 100% all the time.
Right.
Because that's where burnout lives, right? And that's where mentally we start getting drained and start the negative self talk,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so it really does begin with you. I know we hear it from people all the time. We hear it
Mhm.
from experts all the time. We might be a little bit tired of hearing it, maybe, but I think it also starts with awareness and grace. I think those are the two elements that if we can really focus on, in the fact that being aware when you're 40%, and giving yourself some grace to say, hey, I'm at 40% today. That's going to be my 100%.
Yeah.
What does that look like for me? I can still show up with intention. I can still show up with kindness. I
Right.
don't have to change who I am that day. If I'm not feeling it, I'm allowed to say no. And so I really think it does start with us in a way that we need to make sure that we feel seen and heard ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I struggled with that. You'll find out all of that in these stories. I was bullied. There was a lot of different things that I had been through, and my self-worth tanked in some situations. I got it back, and then it left again. I've struggled with imposter syndrome since starting, the podcast and things like that. Even with all of the successes, it's really kind of just that nagging
Mhm.
thing that's there, but being aware of it, naming it, calling it,
Yeah.
telling it off sometimes if you need
Mhm.
to. I think it's all part of the journey. I think we get caught up in it being a destination and we have to be 100% all the time. And I just want to say that it just doesn't happen that way. It's
Right.
not realistic.
Yeah. No, I love that. Understanding that there's an ebb and flow, and the awareness and giving yourself grace can really go a long way. And naming it, like being upfront, being vulnerable, telling people about it. Because at times we feel like hiding it is going to make it go away, but maybe it has the opposite effect at times, right? Pretending like you have it all figured out. Now, you shared about having these conversations on the podcast and having people talk about things that they maybe haven't even talked about before. Are there any specific stories that come to mind or that have stood out throughout the years and throughout the interviews that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I host Blended.
Right.
But I promise you, magic happens on these episodes.
Mm,
So I host these conversations. I am not a DEI expert. Let's just put that out there. And so there have been times when the guests have called me out on something respectfully,
mhm,
and they're like, we need to cut this out of the recording. And I'm like, absolutely not.
mm,
Like, this is a teaching moment for me, and this is a moment that we can teach everybody else
uh-huh.
in how we have this type of conversation,
Mhm,
what that looks like, and how we can give each other grace through that conversation rather than it escalating.
mhm,
And so Blended has really been such a great opportunity. And I'll preface this by saying most people who show up for an episode, they've never met each other,
mm.
and most of them have never met me. And
Wow.
we talk for an hour and a half
Wow.
about really, really hard topics.
Mm,
And then none of them are experts, right? So it's about sharing stories, it's about sharing perspectives. And I say at the beginning, it's okay to disagree, but do it respectfully.
mhm,
No matter what that looks like, I don't know what that looks like, and we can talk through it at the time. But let's just know that all of us have shown up with the intention of talking about this hard topic, and it could be triggering for some,
mm,
right? And so I just did an episode on privilege.
mm,
Fascinating.
mm.
Absolutely fascinating. Because a lot of times when we talk about privilege, we talk about a certain group of people.
Yeah.
When realistically, as we got through the conversation, everybody, the epiphany, the light went off,
Mm,
and they were like, wait a second. In some rooms, in some circumstances, I have privilege.
mhm,
And so what is it that I'm doing in that circumstance with that privilege?
mhm,
Right? If I'm expecting somebody else to live by this, what am I living by when I have this? privilege.
Mm.
So blended, honestly, like Let's Talk Supply Chain. I love the podcast. It's very niche to supply chain. I've loved our Women in Supply Chain series and hearing all of their journeys and what that looks like, journeys to success. And blended really is where the magic happens.
I love that. That is so powerful, to create that space for people to have those conversations and then facilitate the live bowl moments. uh, is amazing. How do you select the topics and how do you select the guests?
So I have a very good team. I have a lady on my team who is very passionate about inclusion. And so she chooses the topics for each month. And sometimes we're reaching out to people on LinkedIn, depending on what they have, posted in there about us or in their title. Some folks she knows, some I talk to on a regular basis, or I've had a call with for some reason or another. I've met them at a conference,
Mm.
and we'll, get them in touch with Merlinda, and she'll send the topics, and basically they pick the one that they feel that they can contribute the most to.
Mhm.
But I'll be honest, some people get in their head and don't show up.
Mm.
They don't show up on the day or they back out the day before.
Really?
And at first I was like, what am I doing wrong?
Mm.
You know what I mean? This whole self-worth thing. I started like blaming
Mhm.
myself. And then I was like, no, you know what? Like these are tough topics. I want
Yeah.
to be able to extend grace to those who may not feel comfortable. And also, I want to extend grace to myself in the fact that whoever shows up for that episode is meant to show up for that episode.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's 2 people, sometimes it's 5.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fun. Well,
Yeah.
everyone's gonna have to go check it out, both podcasts, but that sounds super awesome. So what is next for you? I'm inspired by the journey of you, hearing about the branding in that conference pretty much a year ago, and then here
Mhm.
you are with your book out. I probably can guess that you didn't think this would be happening a year later, coming from
Well,
that
I
conference.
I have to be honest, I was very intentional about it. I
Okay.
had told the publisher, I was like, I want this book out next fall.
Mhm.
And so we worked on the timeline is into what that needed to look like, what needed to happen. And everybody, the whole team, the publishing team, the PR team, my team really came together to make sure that it happened. So
Nice.
I am very, very grateful to everybody for that. So um did I know it was going to come out a year later? Well, I was a little bit intentional about that. But I didn't necessarily know how it was going to go. I mean, honestly, the lead up to it was terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. Well, so do you have anything planned for next fall already? Is there
Um,
something already in the books?
it's really funny. You can't see it right now, but I have this big, I don't know if I can swear on here, but big A calendar in my kitchen,
Mhm.
because I travel quite a bit for work. And so my husband and I were going through this calendar and like, okay, this is where we're going, this is where we're going to try to fit in, some vacation
Mhm.
and different things like that. So I'll be honest, most of my travel for 2026 has been
Oh, wow.
already booked out for the most
Okay.
part, although there will be some things that are going to come up for that. But we have a very exciting project at Let's Talk Supply Chain that I can't really talk about right now, but it's
Okay.
with a name that everybody would know,
Mm.
that we're going to be launching and rolling out in 2026. And I'm already thinking about the second book. I've had some people contribute to it. And so, already thinking about that. I just don't know when I'm going to make that happen.
Okay.
We might start the process next fall to come out for 2027.
Okay. That is so exciting. Look at you, so organized already. Having 2026 all planned out. Well, that's how it's done. I love it. Well, congrats on everything that's coming up. Before I have you share how people can connect with you and learn more about you, I like asking all my guests my $1 million question. Are you ready?
Sure, I think.
Sarah, what is an empowered woman to you?
Oh, an empowered woman is somebody who is not ashamed of talking about and celebrating their wins.
Mm,
Because I feel like that is the biggest thing that I mean, self-worth is one of them, but I
yeah,
think also we are challenged because we think that it's bragging.
yeah. So true. Well, you can brag away on here in my world about all your accomplishments. That is just so exciting. Congratulations again on the launch of the book, personal brand, all the things and everything that is to come. How can people connect with you and find you?
So I'm on Instagram, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm also on LinkedIn, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I think we have a TikTok, but I'm not entirely sure. My team kind of takes care of that.
Okay.
But yeah, those are the two places that they can really connect with us and yeah, send us a DM. Let us know what you think about the book.
Yeah.
I would love to hear everybody's feedback on the book. I've had a few people crying.
Aw.
So forewarning,
There may be
I've had a
tears.
couple of men reach out to me and
Oh.
said that they were crying through the book.
Wow.
So it's not supposed to be that way. It's a little bit of humor. It's a little bit, I mean, I have been through some stuff, but
Yeah.
I'd love
Aw.
to hear what everybody thinks about it. And Marta, I just want to say congratulations on your success. And I really just appreciate you for having me on the show to be able to share the story and share the book and all the things.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for, celebrating other women.
Yay!
Well, thank you so much. This was lovely, and I'm excited for people to go check out the book and connect with you.
Me too. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.